6 matches, 2 red cards, and 2 of the biggest men being sent to the naughty step, a world record being broken, a 73-point hiding, and the back-to-back world champions who won and yet still walked off the field with their coach frowning. That's round 2 of the Nations Championship, people. The North threw their best punches and the South punched right back. And by full time on Saturday night, the hemispheres were dead even once again. But there are stories underneath the scoreline, and we have got a lot to unpack today. Welcome back to Retang the Sports. I am Retang. I am the host of this podcast. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you're new, like this video, and let me know your thoughts about this round 2 of the Nations Championship and if you are enjoying it thus far. Now, grab a coffee, grab a drink, grab a Coke, get comfortable because we are going at all 6 of these games. We're going tactical, and I'm going to give my honest takes on every single one. Let's go. Before we get into the game, let me start by setting the table a little bit. So coming into the second round, we had basically the North versus the South, and the points and the logs are going to matter heavily at the moment. Coming into this, both the North and the South were even at 3 wins each. So here's the framing for today. Round 2 was the round where the pretenders got found out and the real contenders reminded everyone why they are contenders. The hemisphere ledger for the weekend is again 3 wins each, the honors being even, but the manner of some of these tells something about who is actually building towards that final at Twickenham in November and who is just making up the numbers. Let's break it down, and we're going to save the big one, the Bok game, for a proper deep dive towards the end. So stick around for that video. But first game of the weekend was New Zealand versus Italy. New Zealand in an emphatic win, 47-17. So for about 40 minutes of this game, this was not the story that everyone expected. Italy came out flat, fast, and extremely physical. And I mean flat in the good sense, as in their defensive line was up in your face. You got given no time on the ball at all. Rushing New Zealand, Tommaso Menoncello got over the line and got Italy on the board first. And then the All Blacks got rattled, a certain level of rattle that I haven't seen in a very long time. They looked rushed. They were making handling errors that they don't normally make. They were making tactical errors that they don't normally make either. They were trying to adjust to how quick and flat Italy were coming at them, and that caused them to make some very, very silly errors, which we don't normally see out of the All Black pack. Now, at halftime, the score sitting at 14-10, a 4-point game. Italy went into the second half genuinely believing that they could have New Zealand's number this day. And then the third quarter happened. This is the bit that I want you to understand from a tactical perspective, because it is a pattern with all of these great sides, which we'll see further later on in this video. Italy cracked. So Canone got a red card by making a silly error that a player of his experience and caliber should not be making at this level, by cynical head contact, basically headbutting a guy in the ruck. And at that moment, New Zealand had the extra man, and they were able to find a bit of space, and then New Zealand became ruthless. So Sam Darry, Cam Roygard, and Ethan de Groot and Tupovai, the tries just came in waves and waves and waves and waves. It was kind of an unstoppable kind of flywheel effect that New Zealand had been able to formulate. Now, from a 4-point game to a 30-point hammering, it took just about 20 minutes. But this is the difference with these tier 1 nations, is that as soon as you give them an inch of space, they take advantage of it, where a tier 2 nation won't do like that. And now you look at a team like Italy, who are unfortunately becoming nearly men, as in they played well for 25 minutes and then they capitulated. And you got to ask yourself the question, why? Why is it every single time that they come up against a tier 1 nation, they do well for about 20 minutes, and then from there, they kind of capitulate? It takes me back to the incoming series that they played against the Boks last year, same time this year, before the Rugby Championship, where they had the Boks number for large parts of that game at Loftus Versfeld. I was actually there to watch the game live. They had the number of the Boks, but then for whatever reason, they just could not get it done. Just too many errors, too many lapses of judgment. And I mean, the Boks are a quality side, and so are New Zealand. But Italy have the capability to beat a tier 1 nation of this caliber on their day. They just need to find out what is going to get them to that next level. Because once they do, they are going to be a massive threat in the Six Nations and in World Rugby in general. But the biggest headline of this game was Will Jordan grabbed himself a hat trick, which took him to 50 test tries, moving past Doug Howlett, making him the greatest All Black try scorer of all time. That is phenomenal for him, and it's great history. Now, Will Jordan, to just show the absolute efficiency monster that he is, he scored 50 tries in 56 test matches. For you mathematicians, that is 1.12 tries every single game. He's not a winger who's just nicking tries off of set moves or at the scraps at the end of moves. This is a player who is an elite finisher and probably the best finisher in World Rugby. And he did it in the middle today, a record hunt, while his team was wobbling. Now, yes, New Zealand won the game, but there are some tactical issues in this New Zealand side, which I picked up this pattern over the last 2 weeks. Against rush defense, they really struggle. For whatever reason, the depth that they play in, they cannot manage playing a rush defense for large parts of the game. In the first 20-25 minutes of the game, when Italy really were in New Zealand's face, we saw them struggle regarding discipline, handling errors, tactical errors. And we saw the exact same thing happen against France for longer than 25 minutes, for the better part of 50 to 60 minutes, where we saw France putting New Zealand under the pump. And second is them defending what you call rapid ball from the ruck. Now, Italy, for large parts of that first half, they kind of had this flywheel of just fast ball off of the ruck, which New Zealand struggled with. Now, New Zealand, traditionally, we know they function, and I wouldn't say rely, but they do the best off of broken play, off of quick offloading, off of scrappy rugby, but they make it look beautiful. But today, they really struggled against Italy when Italy started to deploy this tactic of just really quick passes from the base of the ruck, not allowing them to set up. But my take on this game, don't let the 47-17 scoreline fool you. New Zealand were ordinary for half and for a half and then some, and lethal for about 20 minutes. And that's their flaw, right? Will Jordan even said himself in the post-match interview that the challenge isn't doing this for a while, it's doing this over 80 minutes. Now, against Ireland next week in Auckland, they won't get that free third quarter which Italy provided for them. But once this All Black squad really clicks under Dave Rennie, this is going to be a scary, scary team to be facing at the Greatest Rivalry Tour, and I can't wait for that. Make sure that you guys are following this page for when we get to the Greatest Rivalry. Now, match 2 is Aussie versus France. Australia losing once again in a scoreline of 26-42 in favor of France. Australia led this game 21-12 at halftime. Now, some of the standout players, well, the standout player for me in this game, who makes my team of the week, Fraser McRide. Boy, special. He is outstanding. I mean, he grabbed himself 2 early tries. Their pack was on top. The crowd was up. And for 40 minutes, Australia looked like a team that had turned a corner. And then, for the second week in a row, they led at the break and lost it. That's the headline that, as a Wallaby fan, you do not want to hear. That you are a team that can start a test but can't finish one. France, meanwhile, remember, this is the same side that had made 8 changes and still without Antoine Dupont, that lost also to New Zealand last week in a heartbreaking round 1. And they were down 9 points at halftime in a very hostile Brisbane environment. Now, how do they do that? They scored 30 unanswered points, 30 in a 4-try burst either side, and after the hour. They racked up 25 points in about 20 minutes, and then the game was gone completely from there. Tactically, this is French test rugby maturing in front of our eyes. Unpack ran the show from the middle of the park with a man of the match performance, and rightly so. And the debutant getting himself 2 tries. He's a Sevens gold medalist. He scored twice on debut, showing the translation from Sevens to 15s, as well as other players such as Jalibert also putting up his hands, showing up in key moments, really carrying this French team to this comeback. Mofana, who I think had a great game as well. You just had players putting up their hands in the right moments, where then you had Australia, who had players cowering away when they shouldn't have, or you had players making silly mistakes that they shouldn't be. And this is, again, a very, very big issue for this Australian side. Right, so here is the stat that is going to sting many people in Australia. To all my Australian listeners, I'm so sorry. But that's France's 4th win over Australia on the bounce. It's the first time they've done it in 60 years. And it is their biggest win on Australian soil ever. And for the Wallabies, 9 losses in their last 10 tests. That's not a slump, folks. That's a crisis. Whatever's happening in that camp, leading at halftime and folding twice in 2 weeks, that's a mentality problem, not a talent problem. France are dangerous, and they're genuinely dangerous. And if they play full out for 80 minutes like they played in that second half, they can beat anyone. But Australia also have the quality to finish games off. So what's the issue? I don't believe it's the coach, because now Joe Schmidt is no longer in her job. I truly believe that this is purely a player issue. It is a mentality issue. Now, you could argue a coach has a factor in that, but he's not the one on the field making the tackles. Now, moving on to match 3, which will be a bit brief, but I gotta say something about this third match, Japan versus Ireland. And it's not sitting well with me. Japan had a home game in Newcastle, Australia. Now, the logistics of this new tournament, the invitational squads get shuffled around so that the touring teams aren't flying 50 hours. We'll come back to that later on because it matters. Now, on the pitch, Ireland made it look almost routine today. I mean, Andy Farrell, he rested and rotated heavily. He rested Sheehan, Furlong, Gibson Park, Ringrose, Keenan, the entire spine of who Ireland and what Ireland is was rested today. Handed out 4 debuts and still won by 16 points and a bonus point. That's squad depth, folks. I think they have the deepest squad in the North. And that is a team that is operating on a completely different level of the resources to most in the Northern Hemisphere. Now, the forwards did all of the damage. They did really well in terms of really bringing the physicality to this Japanese side. And then the backline just closed it off. Now, Japan, to credit them, they were in this game. They never really went away in this 80 minutes, but you could see the gap in the cohesion and the power over the 80-minute game. Now, my honest take on this game is that Ireland are the most complete team in the North group right now. And they've done it in second gear with their B team. Now, perfect 10 points, top of the North. And now they get New Zealand in Auckland with a rested first 15. That, my friends, is the match of round 3. And we'll get to it in a second. Now, fourth match. Bit of a controversial one this one. It is Fiji versus England. Fiji getting battered 73 rather. Now, England came into this off of a 5-test losing run. They had been thumped in the previous week, ran round 1 against the Boks. And now the pressure on Steve Borthwick was really getting serious, and the danger was real. Now, Fiji have been a bogey team for England in the last couple of years, beating them at Twickenham, besting them in World Cups. And for 6 minutes of this game, it was a tense affair. Then it became a farce, and then just a procession. And I have to be honest as the analyst here. You cannot take this game at face value, and here's why. For the first half stoppage time, it was still a contest at 35-3. And Fiji's scrum half gets a straight red for kicking out on Ellis Genge, which I believe is harsh. Reviewing it many times now, I believe that this is harsh. Now, Genge was clearly seen holding on to the legs of the Fijian scrum half, and the ref didn't sanction Genge for this. Now, 14 men for basically the entire match against England in 35 degrees Liverpool heat. The game was over was over as a contest from that moment there. So in the second half, it wasn't a test. It was a pure exhibition game. As in, like, the Fijians as well just didn't look like they wanted to play rugby anymore. England did well, give them their credit. You can only play what's in front of you. They scored tries. They basically suffocated Fiji. Fiji are a team that operate off of loose ball, broken play. And to suffocate Fiji to only one line break in 18 minutes is still phenomenal. Now, England did this by creating very structured play and refusing to give Fiji their unstructured, chaotic rugby. They kicked perfectly and they just starved them of any kind of ball. Now, Finn Smith was superb. He got 9 from 11 off of the tee and a man of the match performance. And then Henry Pollock came off of the bench and grabbed himself a cheeky hat-trick. And that is 11 tries in total for the young man. Now, my take on this entire game and England in general. This is a confidence win. This isn't a statement win. The monkey is off the back, kind of, and the losing run is over. And Borthwick has a little bit of breathing room, but they beat 14 men who were down in about 11 minutes of playing against them. Now, the real test is next week, playing in Santiago del Estero in Argentina, where nobody's going to get gifted a red card. And that will tell us if England is truly back or if this was just a coincidence or a fluke. Now, we get onto the game that you guys probably came to my channel to see. We have South Africa versus Scotland. Right. Lofters, the big one, right? What a test match this genuinely was. I think this was the pick of the round, and I don't say that because, well, I'm wearing green and gold, but I think the two teams are both in phenomenal form. So let's set this up, right? Rassie did something that was clever and pretty ballsy, to be honest. 11 changes, and this was a proper pick and mix and mash box side. This wasn't our A team, and this was, I believe, Rassie Erasmus deliberately doing this to see how some of the lesser capped players will do under this level of pressure, where you're playing a great outfit like a Scotland, and you're playing at altitude, and you're playing in front of a packed out stadium, where you want to see how these players are going to fare. Rassie Erasmus even said it in his post-match interview, where it's like, you can't only see how a player does against a Georgia or like a Tonga or a Romania. You want to see them against this team. And mind you, this Scotland are no slouches. They've beaten England, France, and Argentina in the same 12 months. And he wanted to see what his depth was about. And the answer was, yes, the depth was good, but only just. Now, to start the game off, the start was an absolute dream. Ambrose Papier, the first try that he has had in international test rugby in over 8 years on his home ground at Lofters. Now, it's beautiful. He picks it off the base, he dances through some players, he goes round Xander Arthegrisson, and he absolutely skins the fullback, and he is under the poles to then get Polly to convert that try. And then 90 seconds later, back at the try line, Ivan Ruiz muscling over off of Kobus Wies's carry. 40-0, and Lofters at this point in time is rocking, and you're thinking, here we go, we're gonna have a cricket score. Very reminiscent of the England game. And then Scotland remind us why they are genuinely a good side. They roared back. Matt Fagerson off of the pick and goes. Kyle Rowe just before the break off of a lovely pass from the captain Tua Pelatu. And then Russell slotting over those conversions. And now we sit at 14-14 at half time. We sit level in Pretoria against the world champions. Here's a tactical turning point, and it's a bit of a warning sign. Early second half, Ben Jason Dickin gets a yellow card and a high shot, and the Boks go down to 14 men. And Scotland cannot take advantage of that. Now, remember what I said about these elite tier 1 nations. Scotland is a tier 1 nation, but I'm talking about the elite of the elite. We see three different occasions. We see first Springboks versus England last week, down to 13 men. We see New Zealand versus Italy this week, and then we have this game. And now we can contrast these three games. Last week, in the last 10 minutes, the Springboks took great advantage of having a 2-man advantage over England. New Zealand immediately took advantage of the man difference against Italy. But now Scotland, being a man down, having a man in advantage and the Boks being a man down, they could not take advantage of it and make it count. They didn't score while they had the extra man. That's the difference at this level. It's fine margins. Clinical execution, and Scotland's captain admitted it afterwards that was their failure in the game. Because when the Boks came back to full strength to 15 man, we really saw the bench do its thing and flex its muscles. Alrech Lowe dotting over, Damian Willemse scoring a try, Zachary Porthen scoring a try, and suddenly we sit at 35-14. And it looks done, right? You would think so, but Scotland, man, I genuinely love the Scotland team. They hit right back with Bayliss and Ben White, two very easy tries they scored. And now the score goes to 35-28, and there's 10 minutes left to go. But just beautiful touch from the Boks, winning a scrum in the middle of the pitch, and then you see this beautifully set up move where Polly puts a beautiful chip and chase for JC Creel. He scoops it up, scores a try in the corner, and then the game ends 42-28. But those 2 tries that were given away are very, very silly and a bit lazy from the Boks. We play rush defense like many elite nations play, but when your rush defense is not working together and moving well, it opens gaps, and you saw it there in those 2 clear tries. We weren't meeting Scotland ahead of the gain line. We were letting them just come towards us. And when that happens, what happens is you have a player with the ball. All you have to do is draw one player draw one player from the opposition team and play your player in that gap, and then you get a line break. And we saw 3 line breaks, 2 resulting in a try, and 1 beautiful cover defense from Grant Williams and Damien Willemse. But 3 line breaks in a span of 5 minutes. That's worrying. Now here is my honest analysis. Like I've said, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. The scoreline sparkles at 6 tries to 4 and a record 10 straight test win for the Boks. Rusty's 55th test, and now the Springboks have beaten every single Six Nations side. Well, have beaten every single rugby championship and Six Nations side in a 12-month period. It's historic, but the performance had holes. The defense, I was disappointed in. There were too many missed tackles, too many generosities on the gain line, too many missed opportunities. And against a France or New Zealand in a final, that's very expensive. Rusty will be pleased with the depth that they passed the exam, but he will not be pleased with how leaky it was down the line. The bottom line is this: the job got done, the box was ticked, we're unbeaten and top, but this is a we survived type of a performance, not a we dominated type of a performance. And the Boks know the difference better than anyone do. Now, finally and quickly, this final game, Argentina versus Wales. Argentina are just simply a different side when they play at home. They look super unplayable. Carreras, Ovidio, Albanos, all chipping in for amazing point contributions, and they looked comfortable. Like I said, they are a different animal, and the Los Pumas, who host England next week at home, are going to be very entertaining to watch, and I think that'll be the sneaky game of the weekend. Now, coming back to what I was speaking about earlier regarding Japan and Fiji and these invitational teams, there are three things about this Nations Championship that I am thinking about heavily. Number one, the home game problem. Fiji playing at home in Liverpool, Japan playing at home in Newcastle. I understand the logistics. You can't fly a squad for 55 hours in a week. But there's something that sits wrong with that, in the sense of the smaller nations will never get then a home crowd behind them, and World Rugby is going to have to solve that, or this tournament will always tilt towards the big unions. Secondly, Australia are in a genuine trouble and a crisis. 9 losses in 10, leading at halftime twice and folding both times. That's not tactics, that's belief and mentality. Something needs to change in that camp, and quickly. And I don't believe changing their coach is going to do much. Third, the North-South ledger is dead level, but the depth is not. South Africa, New Zealand, Ireland, and France, those 4 are rotating squads, resting their star players, and still winning by quite a margin. That's real gap. That's not real gap in competition or talent on the day. That is depth across a campaign. That's the true gap. Now, let's go ahead to round 3 real quick. We have the big game of the weekend, New Zealand versus Ireland in Auckland. Basically, the two top two top nations of each side, besides the Boks, are going at it. It's a big heavyweight fixture, and I cannot wait. And I'll be covering it all on this channel. Now, for us, South Africa, we host Wales, and after that leaky defensive showing, I believe Rassie is going to bring in some more tried and tested muscle. Although, I have this sneaky suspicion that we might be seeing Vusi Moyo starting for the Springboks against Wales. Maybe as someone who played with him, I just want to see this happen, and I'm excited about the player. But we've seen Kjuan Horn start, Handre start, Mani start. What about Moyo? Let Moyo get a young 60 minutes. Plus Argentina versus England, like I said, which could be a sneaky good fixture. But folks, that's round 2. If you've enjoyed the breakdown, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and drop your team of the week in the comment section below, and your round 3 in the comments as well. I read them all, and I love arguing and responding to you guys in the comment section below. But guys, until next time, keep it lacquer and peace.